Today, what we're going to do is talk about how to stay sober during difficult times. As we've seen in the news and all over the place, there is a lot of stuff happening with the virus and all kinds of things. And even AA meetings and local recovery meetings are being shut down because oftentimes we gather in more than 10 people, and that's not allowed for the time being. So how does someone who's an alcoholic stay sober during difficult times? Now, Terry and I have had about 5.5, 6 years of sobriety each, and we've learned some things about how to get sober and stay sober during difficult times. For those that are new and don't know me, I actually got sober in the midst of selling my house in a drunken stupor, not knowing where to live, having bought a house across the country, and not knowing what to do with myself. And I landed in a mental hospital and rehab, and I had to stay sober under some of the most crazy of times. So what we're going to do is talk to you about how to keep the serenity in your mind and how to not go for that bottle of alcohol when you feel stressed or overwhelmed. So Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Shut in my house. We have been told to shelter in place in my area, so that's what we're doing.
All right, good. And how do you find it if you were to give advice to someone who's new? Because our first reaction as alcoholics is, hey, the world's going to shit, which it's not, but as alcoholics, our mind tends to go to the sense of impending doom, like the worst case scenario, what's going to happen, and what do we do with that, right? How do we stay sober and how do we focus on it when it seems like everything's crumbling? How do we not go to that bottle?
Well, the first thing for me right now, I'm very busy because I'm at the end of an entire home remodel. And fortunately, the contractors finished last week, but I still have lots putting together to do. But really, that's what I do is I stay busy. But as far as, that's one of the key things for me in sobriety is just staying busy.
Yeah.
I'm personally working with a person that's fairly new in sobriety, and it's situations like this where he has shown in the past that have driven him to the bottle. And what I'm doing is we're in contact all the time on the phone. I actually told him about an online meeting that I was attending last night, and he showed up at that meeting, and it was great. It was good to see him there. And this social distancing and all this stuff that we're supposed to do, a lot of us say self-isolate, but it's not self-isolating because we can communicate with people all the time. But part of this is we're still allowed to go outside. And, I'm going walking my dog every day. And, my exercise right now is in the house, but I'm able to go on my bike rides if I want to, just not with a big group of people.
Yeah.
Working with this one person, I'm actually going to meet him today, but we're not going to be in the coffee shop in closed quarters. Well, of course, they're all to go only now, but we're going to meet at a park, and we're going to sit across picnic benches from each other, and we're going to talk about sobriety for an hour or so. And that's it's just following what guidelines people are saying that we should and shouldn't be doing, and that's important. And that's stuff that I used to not do when I was drinking. I just didn't follow any of what people's advice was, especially the stop drinking part. But
Yeah.
Sobriety is still my top priority. I mean, whatever we have to stay away from today, and that if I'm not sober, it just doesn't matter. So for me, that's what I have to concentrate on is sobriety, and that's kind of what I do throughout the day is just try and be productive and try to stay busy and try to I have to really adjust. I'm not in the same routine as I used to be. I got laid off from work, so I'm not cooking anymore right now. And our hotel may close, it may not, but right now it's just the GM and the executive chef are doing all the cooking because there's no business. So I have lots of time on my hands, and that was damaging for me when I was drinking. I quit my job. I got rid of my wife. I had nothing. So all I had time to do was drink, and that's a big danger for me. I have to stay busy.
Yeah. Real quick, how's the sound quality? Is everyone able to hear us okay? Give us a thumbs up if you're able to hear us. Let us know if there's an echo or anything like that. I think we did fix the echo on Terry. And one of the things that I really want to stress for you guys is that when it comes to things that happen in our world, what we need to do is we need to remember the Serenity prayer, which whether you do AA or not, Terry does AA, I personally do not, it doesn't matter because the Serenity prayer actually started a long time before AA was even invented. And interestingly enough, AA was invented during a stock market crash, which is kind of interesting, log that away for what it is. But what we look at is the Serenity prayer, right? And we focus on it and we're like, okay, what does this mean? Okay, well, what it is God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. What is it in our lives that we can't change? And if you pay attention to what goes into your mind and you're sitting at home and you're focusing on what's going on out there, right? You're sitting in your home and you're focusing on everything and you're sitting there. And if you're anything like me, you get obsessed with things and you have to like study and research. Like last night, I did a whole education on how this stuff spreads and everything like that. And I was looking at it and looking at the numbers and I started to get a little worried. But then I reverted back to the Serenity prayer and saying, well, what is it I can control? Well, I can control, washing my hands, staying inside and things like that, but I can't control what goes on outside. And I need to protect the door of my mind because the key to sobriety is all in your mindset. What are you going to do to protect yourself from reaching for that next drink? What are you going to do to protect yourself from not going out and getting drunk? Because we look at this and we can literally focus our mind where we want to. And our mind is like a lens and we always get what we focus on. So if I'm focusing on the news or I'm focusing on the bad stuff or I'm focusing on things that I can't control, there's things I can't control America, right? I could put my vote in and at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean all that much. I mean, it's good to vote, but at the end of the day, we don't really have a lot of power over these things. So what am I gonna do to get sober? Well, I can piss and moan about how I don't agree with things or how I agree with things. I could check my stock market balance every single day if I'm a stock owner. I could check getting laid off or being furloughed for the time being where we're all in our houses. Or I could figure out something to do. And what we realize is that in life, things pan out. Like Ano says, I'm pissed off that I can't go to the gym. All right, well, you could work out at home. Like yesterday I was thinking about it. I got a fire pit in my backyard and it's a bunch of loose bricks. And I'm like, I can just pick up some bricks and work out. I mean, I don't need to have a gym equipment, right? I could do push-ups on the ground. I could figure something out to do. I could call friends and I can do push-ups or work out or whatever it is. So what we want to do is we want to focus on what our threshold is, right? What is our threshold for I'm going to go to the bar? Right? What is that threshold? What is it that's going to cause us to do it? Because I know if I look back 6 years ago when I was actively drinking, that threshold was tiny. Like I'm talking like accidentally burned the dinner a little bit tiny, right? Like I burned the dinner and I got to go to the bar because of fucked up dinner and I'm a loser and I should be able to cook dinner for my family and I was too drunk to figure it out. So now I'm pissed off. And so my threshold was really low. And what I need to do is I need to push that threshold back. And now I realize like 5.5 years later, there are things that have happened in my life that I would have like owned a bar by now, right? I would have been living in a bar because I didn't know how to deal with them and I didn't know how to push that threshold. And the neat thing about it is we push that threshold by calming down and saying, you know what? Right now I got my breath. Right, that's the basic necessity of human life. All right, I got my breath, and maybe down the road, maybe I'll get sick and I won't have it, or I'll need help with it. But I'm going to deal with that as it comes. It's like my uncle. We had an uncle when I was growing up. Not a nice guy. Right? Let's just say it like it is. He was not a nice guy, or he's still not a nice guy. And he's very opinionated. And this guy was afraid of the flu like crazy. I mean, like you would have Easter dinner and he would call everyone who's coming to Easter to make sure they haven't been sick in the last 6 months. That's how crazy this guy was. And he would come over and we'd freak him out. We'd be like, hey, and we'd act like we were sick and he would freak out and get all mad. And this guy was so afraid of things that he was afraid to like do anything. Right? He couldn't move because he was afraid. And what we need to do is we need to look at it. We need to have a healthy dose of what we're going to be afraid of, what we're not going to be afraid of, what we can control and what we can't control. And if we have our health, right, we could still go outside and look at the sun or the clouds, depending on where you're at. You could go out in the sun or go out in the snow or whatever it is, and you can breathe and you can pause. And at any point in your day, you can choose serenity by taking a break and saying, can't really do a whole lot right now. Now, if I watch the news, I don't care when you watch the news, if you watch it yesterday, 6 months ago, a year from now, it's always the end of the world on the news. It always is. There's always breaking news. It's like, breaking news, some guy farted. It's like, how is that breaking news?
Yeah.
I mean, how is that breaking news? Well, it's not. It's I need to get people to watch, so I'm going to flash the breaking news thing. And we got to look at it. Now, is this issue serious? Absolutely. Can this issue grow? Absolutely. Is it going to happen to people that don't expect it? Most likely. But what can we do? We can have the serenity of what we can control, and what you can control is your mindset. And you know what? If you have one drink, that game is off the table. One drink, there goes your mindset and your ability to control it. Done. Over. You can't control it. As they say, a man takes a drink, to be culturally sensitive, a man or woman take a drink, then the drink takes a drink, and then the drink takes the man or woman. And what happens is the drink takes over. You think your thought processes without alcohol are tough to control? With alcohol, it's a million times worse. And we got to focus on that, and we got to look at that. So what are your thoughts on that, Terry? And then we'll get to some Q&A here.
Sure. Let me just give you an example. A week ago, I was maybe a week and a half, something like that, whatever. Recently, I was going to move to Washington. And I was within actually 24 hours of signing a contract with that was involved with a lot of money. And something happened, and it was out of my control. And it was the sellers, and the sellers just kind of changed what they wanted, and it was a deal breaker for me. And the home I was going to buy, it fell through. Okay, I mean, I've cleaned out my house. I filled the largest dumpster known to man. With stuff cleaning out my house, 25 years of accumulation of a lot of crap and a lot of stuff that had value. And I threw it all away. And I donated thousands of dollars worth of stuff to charities as well. And just to clean out my house and minimize everything. I mean, I'm ready to move. And it fell through. And that's something I don't have control over. And it's okay. I spent a ton of money on my house I'm living in. And I get to live in a beautiful home. I mean, what I try to do is look at the positive side of things. And I had no control over what these people decided that they wanted at the last second. And that's fine. It's okay. And that's the way I go through life as far as things are going to change. I'm furloughed on my job, as I'm sure many of you are as well. It's not an easy time for many people. And all I'm going to do is just make adjustments. I'm not going to blow money. I'm going to save money. I'm going to, unfortunately, be careful, not waste toilet paper, apparently, things like that.
Yeah.
But, I have to it's things I don't have control over. But I can take steps, as far as, the toilet paper, maybe go to the store here and there, see if there is any. If there is, pick up some or whatever things I need. Try to minimize my store runs, but get stuff I need. And as far as my home goes, I'm fine. Everything's good. It's all good. Not going to work, it's all good. It's all right. I'm gonna make it. Fortunately, I've made plans for being okay, and that's all right. Even if I had to make some adjustments, which I've had to. it's it's fine. What I do is each day I kind of have my plan for the day. I plan for a day. I plan for the week out. I plan for the next month. But at the same time, I'm okay if the results are different than what I'm planning. So I plan for the results, but it's okay if those results don't happen. And that's the key, is being able to let go of things happening the way I want them to, the way I think they have to happen. It's not going to happen every time. If I just work diligently, maybe they will, or maybe they'll turn out better. You never know. A lot of things have turned out a lot better than what I thought. So, that's kind of my thoughts on being out of control of much, which I'm out of control of a lot of stuff in my life, a lot more than I think I'm out of control of.
Yeah.
And that's all right. I just take the necessary steps, and I try to be as cautious as possible, and things generally work out. They always work out. I'm still here. I'm still happy. So there you go.
And it's funny because we look at things in life as huge changes, like Terry was talking about moving, and I've had to do some moving throughout my sobriety. And sometimes we get a lot of things built up in our mind, and we have to look at what was programmed by society and what is something that we own. For example, when I first got sober, before I got sober, I had a successful business, had a big house in California, and everything started to take a shit when I started to drink. It started to mess things up. I was having trouble in my business, sold my house. And for me, I looked at the blow to my pride that was selling my house, because we had to live in a rental for a couple of years just to, transition and everything like that. And I look at the mindset that I had, and my mind wanted to tell me, you're a failure. You lost it. And it's like, no, you sold it. Even though you were drunk and you were an ass, you still sold it. And even if you did lose it, what does that mean about you as a person? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. If you are off your job right now, or you don't have money right now, or maybe you're facing trouble paying your mortgage or your rent, or buying food, or whatever it is, you don't look at that as a moral failing for you personally. I mean, sure, there's some personal responsibility. Like if you go spend $10,000 on toilet paper and you can't eat food, yeah, that would be a little silly. But for the most part, it's a failing of all of us. It's a failing of society. It's a failing of what's going on in our current world. And when we take that off of us and we're like, okay, you know what, we're going to be okay. And then we look at it and we say, well, what I make this up in my mind is a big mountain. And it's I'm failed and I'm terrible and I shouldn't deserve to live. And these are the things that my brain tells me. And I look at that and I say, well, is that true? Is it true, or do people make mistakes once in a while? Yeah, people make mistakes once in a while. Like even CEOs, the CEO of Yahoo was hired to make Yahoo a successful company. She ran it into the freaking toilet, right? And it's like, okay, is she a failure, or did she just not manage Yahoo right? Well, she probably just didn't manage it right, And we look at it and it's like, okay, lots of things are happening to lots of people, right? And it's happening to all of us globally. And what happens with the alcoholic brain is we turn in on ourselves. Us alcoholics are very selfish thinkers. How is this going to affect me? The world's happening. We look at it like all this stuff is happening to me. No. This is happening to all of us. And if you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to stay home a couple of weeks. Well, think about people that maybe they have underlying conditions and they're in the doctor. Okay, I'm doing a little bit better than that. And we look at it and it's like, things will be okay. Things will be okay. We are taking part in life together. That's what we're doing. We're all in it together, right? Terry's in it. I'm in it. You're in it. And all these things are happening around all of us. And we move and we go along with what happens. Now, some people do what I call riding the waves, okay? How many of you guys watch the stock market? I watch it. I'm not an investor, but I think it's extremely interesting. And we have seen the stock market go from like 29,000 and now it's at like 19,000. That's like 30% drop in a couple of weeks, which means like if you were playing the average stock market and you had 100 grand, now you got 70. Ouch, that hurts. Now, what happens is people freak out. The biggest drivers of human behavior are fear and greed. Fear and desire. I'm afraid or I want. And when we look at this, you look at the stock market, and I don't know if I can show my chart here. Let me zoom out a little bit, and we'll see if we can show the chart. Give me a second. Zoom out a tad. Oh, that's in. There we go. We'll zoom out a tad, right? And if we look at the chart here, I'll try to bring it over here. Right, we look at our chart. Bring it over a little bit more. There we go. Right, we look at our chart here, and what happens is you got your stock market, and in 2000, it was doing okay other than the Dow Jones bubble with the tech stocks, and you had a little dip and stuff like that, and then it goes up, and then like 2008 happens, and boom, the thing plummets a little bit, right? And then it goes back up, and now it's up over here. I don't have enough paper. And then it comes down again. And what happens is if you look at this like at 100 years, right? It's going to be like, it's like that. And you look at it, and what happens is over 100 years, 8 to 10% is the average growth per year of the stock market. You can count on it almost like you can count on the sun coming out. Now, what happens is someone gets in here and they're like, whoa, here's 6 months of terror. And they freak out and they ride the wave. And then they go up here and they're like, woohoo, yay, we're happy now. This is real good. Instead of looking at, now when you're an alcoholic, your life looks like this, right? And your life's like, woo, good, bad, shit. And what you notice is over time, hey, you're hitting that middle road more than you're hitting anything else. And if you look at it and you say, you know what, I'm just going to stay calm because I know when a peak comes, there's going to be a valley. That's part of life. Things are going to happen. Things are going to change. I don't need to flip out. Stuff's going to happen. But what happens is the majority of the people ride the waves and they flip out when things get bad and they freak out when things go wrong. And then they get real happy when things go good. And this is fine. This is normal human emotion. But we have to look at it and say, over time, you know what? I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay. We've always been okay. And we look at it and we stop riding the waves. And you look at Terry, cool as a cucumber, chilling out. 6 years ago, I'll bet there was a totally different Terry. I'll bet if he was moving and it didn't work, he'd be cussing and kicking things if he's anything like me. And, the world's against me and this isn't happening. And, oh, my God, this has to happen when I want to move. And it's like, dude, yeah, it's going to be okay. It's a lot worse for a lot of other people. And what the gift of sobriety gives us is serenity. And what is serenity? It's being chill. It's being on that middle road, saying it's going to be okay. Sometimes there might be a bump. Sometimes things might seem chaotic. But overall, it's going to be okay.
That's right. Should we get some comments?
Yeah, let's say Ano says, I'm not allowed to run my business since the 17th of March, but it's not my fault. It's due to the government decision. The change is difficult. I even thought of relapsing because I thought it. Well, here's the deal. Relapsing is going to make things worse. I guarantee it. One, relapsing depletes the vitamins in your body, which is going to make you more susceptible to stuff. Two, you got to spend money on relapsing. And I know for me, a relapse would be expensive because I don't just relapse on one beer. I relapse on whatever the hell I can find. Three, if you relapse and you end up really screwed up medically, you're going to take a bed that could go to someone else. You're going to take resources that could go to someone else. And at the end of the day, when you relapse, if you relapse, you're going to feel like shit. You're going to feel like shit longer than you felt better. I guarantee it. I just mark my words, guarantee it. Because relapse is going to put your thought patterns back where they were before you got sober. And if you're in this stuff and you're trying to get sober, you know what I'm talking about. You know about the guilt and the shame and the anxiety when you wake up and you say, God dang it, why did I drink last night? Why did I do that last night? Well, you did it because you're an alcoholic. What are you going to do next? Right? And if you do relapse, I did it because I'm an alcoholic. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do now? Right? Minimize the damage and focus on that. But again, we look at it and it's like, why am I thinking about that? Because of social constructs. So I can't run my business. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, my business isn't as great as I'd like it to be right now. People are holding on to money. But, we get through. We might get through. It's going to be okay. And then when your business opens, it'll be, you get it back to normal, and that's what you do. And you focus, and you really, really, really look at it. What are your thoughts on that, Terry?
Sorry, I was reading comments. I want to go back to Ano though, that first one that you said. I'm so pissed off that I can't go to the gym and myself. I mean, Marcus already touched on this, but I just wanted to touch on it real quickly because for working out, I've been very athletic for decades and decades, and I went to a gym for a short time, but after that I haven't been to a gym for years, and I get plenty of exercise. Push-ups at home. I used to do 200 a day. Leg lifts, crunches. Used to go running, walking, cycling, hiking. There's lots you can do, so just wanted to throw that out there for everybody. Lots of exercise that can be done without a gym. For me, a gym is a luxury. So I actually go to a cycling one, but not now, obviously, because they're closed. And it's hard for those of you that have businesses that have been forced to be shut down. That's difficult. Sorry for you guys. Kayla said, I've been watching your videos for the past 6 months to help with recovery from my eating disorder. And they made a huge difference. So grateful for your words and these videos, especially as everything else in my routine has changed. And thanks for all you do, Marcus and Terry. And you're very welcome, Kayla. And sobriety for me is a way of life. It's a way of living. Yes, it's not just not drinking, but it's everything in my life. I had to change everything in the way I deal with people, and it's helped me as far as eating. I am definitely able to order the extra large pizza and eat the whole thing. I could totally do that. but I have a way of life now that helps me to not do things like that, and not I have an addiction to more, and it may be with it can be with eating, it can be with anything, and so I have to really work on the principles that I've learned in sobriety and apply that to the rest of my life, and it helps me a lot, and hopefully it can help you guys too.
Absolutely. And when we look at a lot of the disorders and things that we deal with, whether it's eating, whether it's alcohol, I learned early on in recovery that alcoholism is kind of a lot like OCD, and it's an obsession of the body and compulsion to drink. And what we notice is that a lot of us have OCD in many areas of our life. And I think personally for me, Terry and I are not doctors as it says on the screen below, but I think personally for me, the magic happened when I stopped looking at OCD as a disability, right? I stopped looking at it as something wrong, and I just laughed at it as, that's something I got, hey, yeah, so I got to wake up in the middle of the night and come out here and check and see if my office is off. Even though I know I shut it 3 times, I still have to do it. Even though I can look and see that it's off, I got to check it. And now I'm able to kind of laugh at myself and say, you know what? This isn't a moral failing. It's not something wrong with me. It's just the way that my brain developed, and that's what it is. And when we look at that, and we look at things like eating disorders are difficult, we deal with them in my family. I had one when I was a kid. I would starve myself, and I was literally like 85 pounds soaking wet as a 20-year-old. And, it was very difficult. And my eating disorder stemmed from something that happened in my childhood that I can pinpoint. But then I realized, you know what, this isn't my failing. This isn't my issue. And I'm not gonna adhere to the guilt and shame that is surrounding these things, because guilt and shame are completely useless emotions. What happens with guilt and shame, and this happens when you're hungover. If you guys deal with hangovers, this is gonna light bulb moment, right? What happens is we get the guilt and shame because we want to feel like we're doing something. or I want to feel like it. Like the people out there that are, doing certain things and trying to support certain things or whatever. That's all good. But oftentimes what we do is the guilt and shame leads us to feel better. There was a comment in here. It was brilliant. Someone said, I just had my first hangover. I'm never drinking again. Not more than 3 shots or a couple of beers. I'm never doing it again. Do you know how many times I said that to myself? So many times. You know how many times I woke up feeling shame, guilty, wrote little notes to my wife and kids. I'm never going to drink again. This is never going to happen. And guilt and shame drove me to feel like I was doing something. And it was a total lie. It was saying, oh, you're doing better, drunk. You're doing better, drunk. You're doing better, drunk. This is the last time, drunk. Oh, not again. Even though I was in the hospital last night, I'm not drinking again. Guilt and shame kept leading me to thinking I was doing better. And it kept me out of rehab. It kept me out of the mental hospital that I should have been in, because alcohol made me crazy, and it will to anyone if you drink enough of it. And the guilt and shame did not help. It hindered. So what we do is we look at it in those times of shame, whether it's over food, whether it's over drinking, and we say, what is this trying to tell me? This is trying to motivate me to do differently. Now, I'm going to have feelings. I'm going to feel super motivated. Like the day you go to the gym and you're like, I'm going to lift a 100-pounder today. Shows how weak I am, right? I'm going to lift the 100-pounder today. And you go in there and you got all this energy and you lift it one time and you're like, oh, well, yeah, that was good. Let's go to the bar now or whatever. But your emotions and your motivation are being plundered by drinking. So you see how this cycle works is you got the guilt and the shame and you feel better and you're like, I'm going to do better next time. I'm only going to have 3 shots or 2 or maybe 1, and then I'm going to do better. And you find yourself drunk again and you're like, what the hell happened? I was going to do better. Well, that's because you felt better without doing something, because sobriety is about what are you going to do to stay sober? Not what am I going to feel, not what am I going to think, not what am I going to read. Those are all good. Those are great. Knowledge gives you options. Actions keep you sober. What am I going to do? If I'm quarantined at home and I can't go anywhere, don't buy booze every time you go to the store. Can't get drunk if you don't buy any booze and you don't have any. Guarantee it. Like, I will guarantee you won't get drunk unless you eat some, I don't know, weird stuff. But you can't. You can't do it. Even though the temptation's there, you can fight temptation. You can fight cravings. You can't fight alcohol once it's already in your system. Can't do it. You cannot do it. There is no way around it. And if I say, every time I go to the store, I'm not going to buy it. Well, there's Bud Light 55. That's not even really beer. It's like 2% alcohol. Okay, well, that's enough. I mean, I could get drunk on 2%. I've done it. But you got to look at it and you got to focus and say, what am I going to do to be sober? All right, end of my long rant.
That's okay. It's all good. I have my 13-year-old dog shaking the camera, breathing hard here. Sorry about that, folks. He's got a little bit of a lung issue, so he breathes hard a lot. But he's doing well. Anyways, Derek says, Durst, you have to make this decision on your own, but I've come to realize that I just can't drink. And what Derek's saying is true for me as well. I just can't drink. It doesn't work for me. But you've got to decide that on your own. So that, that a lot of people here are probably wondering if they're alcoholics and if we can tell them that they are or not. But really, you got to decide it on your own. You got to decide it deep down in your heart. And for me, that took a really tough road. And finally, I was able to realize I just can't drink. I don't get to buy the Bud Light 55 and just have one drink. One drink is going to take me back to that insanity, just like Marcus is just talking about. I can't do any. And that has to be something that's in my mind constantly. Doesn't have to, be an obsession of mine, but I have to keep it in my mind all the time. And having all this isolation now, I turn that isolation into something else and try and stay busy and talk to people. Just like talking to you guys. This is great. In fact, we're going to do some more of these right now, especially this next few weeks or months or whatever. But we're going to have some more availability for you guys to be able to talk to us here. So
Absolutely.
we'll talk
And
about that towards the end.
I actually did set it up. So if you guys do want to have some more private type talks and things like that, you can go over to talksober.com. You can sign up for them. If you want to help support the channel, you can sign up. Now, if you are in a hardship and you cannot afford to support the channel, just reach out to us on our Facebook group and we'll include you in those calls, because I don't want you to be left out just because you can't afford it. That's not the way I roll. So I want to help you out with that. And our Facebook channel, do you have a link to it, Terry? Or I think I might be able to find it.
I can get it here in a second.
Okay.
To the Facebook group?
Yeah, oh, there we go. I found it.
Okay, you're
Okay,
faster.
cool. So I'll put the
All right.
link to the Facebook group in the chat. It's a great group of people. You can talk about your issues. Terry and I monitor it as much as I can, which we should be able to do more recently. I know Terry's got a lot of time. I'm doing my other business, but I do check it periodically. So that link is in the chat box. And then if you do want to support us, just go over to talksober.com. There's a big box over there. It shows you what you're going to get. You can fill that out. As soon as you fill that out, you'll get the link to the private webinars. I think the private trainings are going to be better because they're not live on YouTube for everyone to see. It's in a small group where you could unmute your microphone if you want to talk, or you could type in your personal comments, or you could share what's going on with you rather than worrying that, hey, the whole world is going to see this. So it's like a small group of people. Now, again, Terry and I are not doctors, addiction specialists, or anything like that. We've just found what works from a guy, me, who's a total germaphobe, who was put into the depths of alcohol, where I literally searched the trash can for little bottles that had a little bit left so I could pour myself a shot, to being sober almost 6 years and having a completely different life. I mean, it is night and day when you look at my brain, when you look at my mind, when you look at my thought life. It's literally night and day. And we can all have that. We can all do that. Even in times of adversity, we can do that. We can stay strong, and we could say no to the first drink. We could say, hey, I know what that's going to do. And we can say no to the social stigma of, oh, what do you mean you can't drink? Everyone's getting lit while the virus is going on. Well, I'm not. Terry's not. And we're good.
That's right.
We're here hanging out. And we look at it. And it's funny because, one of the fears I had about not drinking is I thought I was going to miss out on like this secret society of life of people who drank. And I found out that was like bullshit. Right? I go places now, I have actually more fun. When I go to a concert, I have more fun. I actually, get to be there and enjoy it. So I spend $500 on a concert seat. I'm not hosed by the time the band I came to see goes on. And we look at it and we really, it's a gift. Sobriety can be the best gift you ever have if you take it. But you got to take it. You got to say, I want to do it.
That's right. Go to that concert. You get to drive home sober and be awake on the drive home, or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kurt says, hey, Terry found this channel through your other channel. That's awesome. Wow. This helps great, and I was excited to find you on this channel. Keep up great work. David said, have a non-alcoholic beer. It's great. For me, non-alcoholic beer is not an option. It's too much like a regular beer. And a lot of non-alcoholic beers actually have 0.5% alcohol in them, so they have some. And my choice for me is to have no alcohol whatsoever. I don't know what's going to trigger me, so I'm just going to stay away from it. But I have a friend that's been sober for 2.5 decades, and he drinks non-alcoholic beer here and there, and he's able to have it fine. So really, it's whatever you decide. But for me, I just don't take any risks whatsoever as far as my alcohol addiction goes.
Yeah, and what I would do is don't make any decisions until after you're sober for a year. Right? A lot of people look at this and they're like, "Does sobriety mean I'm swearing off alcohol for the rest of my life?" I don't know. You're an adult. You can choose what to do. You can choose what not to do. But don't make any decisions for a year. Say, I'm going to stay off alcohol for a year. And people go, "Oh, Marcus, I'm not an alcoholic." Okay, stay off it for a year. See how you do. Non-alcoholics don't care about staying off it for a year. Like if their doctor said, hey dude, you got a liver problem from something else, don't drink for a year, they'd be like, of course. But people like me who are alcoholics were like, we got a liver problem, now that's something to drink over. I got to drink over my liver problem because what am I going to do? And so we look at it and we got to focus and say, what is it that's causing me to feel this way? And 9 times out of 10, it's the alcohol causing you to feel that way. And the other time, it's society and the stigma of drinking. And we got to look at this and say, what is it we're going to do? And there was an interesting comment. I think he's talking about some other substance. He says, well, the worst thing that happens is that if you take too much, you either puke or get nauseous and don't feel the positives. Yeah, that kind of sounds like alcohol. And like, if that's, oh, hey, that's just the worst thing, that's pretty bad. Like, normal people don't go around saying, hey, you know what, I want to be happy today, but I'm probably going to puke and feel like shit. That's your option, like happy or shit? Why don't you just be happy and not have the stuff, And we can look at that. And what happens is this shows how alcoholic insanity kicks in. Like, we're literally insane. I go to the doctor and he says, you need to quit drinking, and I keep drinking. Who else does that? The doctor says, hey, you need to stop doing this. Keep doing it. I'm like the guy who bangs his head on the wall, and I'm like, I got a headache. And he's like, well, stop banging your head on the wall. And I'm like, no, I like it. And as silly as that sounds, that's really what we're doing. But we're caught in the grips, and it has manipulated our brain to think that we need it to live. And so many of us think we need alcohol to live. And if any of you guys here are trying to get sober and you've been drinking, always, always go to a doctor, because detox can be deadly. And you gotta keep that in mind. Even if, it's just alcohol, Marcus, you don't understand. I do understand. Like 80,000 people a year die from just alcohol. I think those are the numbers. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's something like that.
It's a lot.
Yep.
So Kurt says, new to the channel, looking for outlets. I think you just mentioned the non-alcoholic beer earlier. Alcohol has been a major thing in my life, and it's scary to think I cannot drink. Well, don't worry about not being able to drink ever again. Just try stopping drinking for a week, maybe a month, maybe a year, or just think about, I'm going to stop for a week, the week after I can drink. Get to that week and try it for another week.
And
okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, and on your week, focus on being sober. Like, don't sit there for the week and be like, oh man, 3 days to go and I get to get hosed. Focus on being sober. And I think if you focus on getting sober, you're going to find that at the end of the week, you're going to be like, that was all right. I actually liked it. Like, I didn't lay on the couch till noon. That was good. I didn't break out in sweats. I didn't feel like crap. I didn't, feel like I was spinning. And we look at it and we focus. Megan, good to see you again. She says, something hard I'm having to deal with in sobriety is people expecting me to fail and suspecting me of drinking again when I've been sober 10 months. It's very frustrating, especially my daughter's dad. Okay, this is something I've dealt with. What you're going to notice is that when you break the trust of people by being an addict, and it's not like you went out and did it on purpose, so cut yourself some slack. When we cut ourselves slack, we also need to cut other people slack. Because you look at it and you're like, I've been sober 10 months, this is big. And they look at it and they're like, they're protecting themselves. In our brains and in our minds, we have a protector. And what it does is it goes to the worst case scenario and says, this is what I need to protect against, right? If you have kids, you think about this. Like, my kids just started driving, and that's like the scariest thing a parent could do is give their kids car keys. Terrifying. And so your brain goes to the worst case scenario, and you're like, okay, I need to prepare for the worst so that I'm ready. And so your family's doing the same thing. And they're like, we're going to prepare for the worst. We're going to prepare for if they relapse. We're going to prepare for if this happens. We're going to prepare for if that happens. And they're looking at the history. Historically, you weren't that great at staying sober. Now, great job. 10 months, that's life-changing. That's a big deal. And congratulations on that. But don't expect them to do that. And there's a story I tell on this channel all the time. Years ago, we were at my grandma's house before she passed. She was the biggest alcoholic in our family. Talk about alcohol making you insane. The lady was married 16 times, and I'm not joking. Like literally 16 legit times, 14 legally, 2 we're not so sure about, right? But a lot of times. And she got sober. She was sober the last 20 years of her life. And we were at her house, and she gave me and my brother a table because we had just moved out. And my uncle was like, oh, put it in this way, it'll be fine. And my dad's like, no, put it in this way. And the table flies out and breaks on the ground when my brother drives away. And my uncle gets mad. And everyone's an expert. You ever notice how everyone's an expert with your issues, right? And so everyone's telling him what to do, and he gets mad. He's a big guy. And he's like, everybody find something to do. I'm doing this. And what my uncle exhibited at that time was the fact that he was like, this is what I'm doing. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. I don't care what the guy over there thinks I did wrong. I don't care who's the expert or who's the town idiot. I'm doing this. And what we need to do in our sobriety is we need to be like my uncle. And we need to say, everybody find something to do. I'm doing this. And they go, well, what if you fail? I'm doing this. What am I doing? I'm going to go to AA, or I'm going to go to a meeting, or I'm going to listen to Marcus and Terry, or I'm going to read, or I'm going to focus, or I'm going to talk to people who are sober. This is what I'm doing. Everyone find something to do. I'm doing this. And when your ex comes in, you say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And maybe I failed in the past, but this time I'm really trying to do it. And I don't know what the future holds. None of us do. But this is what I'm doing. Right? And over time, you'll show a pattern, and they'll be like, yeah, I think he's okay. I think he'll be all right. And you'll just start to develop a pattern. But it can be difficult because we are addicted as humans to the drug of approval from other people. We have to have that approval. And, I get sober for a day, and I want a pat on the back. I'm like, hey, look at how good I did. And they're like, I'm not an alcoholic, so you didn't drink for a day. Big shit. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And it's like, why do I need his approval? Everybody find something to do. I'm doing this. That's what I'm doing. I don't need a pat on the back. I don't need a coin. Coins are good. They keep us steady. But I don't need one because this is what I'm doing. And sobriety in and of itself, without coins, without pats on the back, without yay me, sobriety in and of itself is the biggest gift you will ever give yourself. And it's more rewarding than your ex saying, good job. It's more rewarding than someone saying, I think you'll fail again. Right? It's more rewarding than everything. And if you focus on it, that's the gift. All right. I ranted again, didn't I?
No, you're good. And I related a lot, and with Megan's comment, it's very frustrating, especially my daughter's dad. And I was the same way. And it was hard. That was one of the most difficult things in my sobriety is letting go of the fear that I had of what other people thought of me. And, I had to just take the actions of sobriety. And, people that are not trying to get sober, they don't understand what we're trying to do. And explaining it to them it just goes over their head. Mm-hmm. Because people that do not have an addiction problem, their thought process is, why don't you just quit? And we know that it's not that easy to just quit. We have to develop a new way of life, a new thought process. We have to change our mindset. And so I had to focus on that sobriety and focus on that mindset and let go of that fear that I had of what other people thought. My wife, after a year I was sober, she came up to me and said, are you drinking again? And I was like, no. And of course I get really defensive right away. I wasn't drinking, but it was like, no, I'm not drinking. And it probably made me look like I was, but I wasn't. And all it was I had put something in front of the door under the house, which is where I used to hide the alcohol. And she knew that because I told her where I used to hide the alcohol. And that's all it was. And I got really mad at first, and then I was like, wait a minute. I drank and I lied to people, and I've explained to her these lies that I did, and I've come out honest with everything. Why would she not have a little bit of suspicion here and there if she sees a sign? I spent all these years being a liar, and now at that time I'd only been sober a year. I mean, I had a lot of proving to do. And living my life and focusing on doing the right thing and being a good person, it's come back. People respect me now. I haven't had anybody accuse me of anything like that lately. And I'm still have to be honest. Like last night, my wife, she was drinking her one glass of wine that she drinks for 7 hours. And, she had a little Zoom conference on the computer. So she left the glass of wine in the kitchen. And she went in the office, closed the door, and there's that wine in the kitchen. And, I'm walking by it all for that hour that she was in her meeting. And I didn't have a temptation to drink it, but it was there. And I looked at it every time, and I smelled it when I was walking by, and this and that. And, I had to be honest with myself and just tell her when she got out, hey, if you don't mind, if you're going to do something like that and you have that glass of wine, can you put it away somewhere just so I'm not staring at it? I caught myself looking at it, and, I didn't have a temptation, but, I got to do these little things to keep accountability myself and also understand when other people have suspicions, it's okay. I proved to them that I had shown them that I was a liar before, so it's okay. I got to cut them slack.
Yeah. Yeah, and just focus on what you're doing. Like, I know I'm sober. I know I'm focusing on being sober. I know that's my goal. And if they get mad, it's not a personal attack. They're trying to, do what they can do with the knowledge that they have. Unfortunately, our culture has really screwed up when it comes to education about what the alcoholic's about and what addicts go through. It's terrible. The education in our country here, if you're here in America, is terrible. It's just like, where is it? And so they don't know. They don't know what it's like. They don't know what you think. And we just got to focus on it. And we got to say, this is what I'm doing. And you can even agree. I know you're right to question it. I would too if I were in your shoes. But here's what I'm doing. Right? Just change it up a little bit and make sure you're doing what you say you're doing. Because a lot of times we can fool ourselves. And so we look at it and we're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to protect myself? What's my defense going to be against the drink? What is Terry's defense against the wine in the kitchen that his wife left? What's the defense? And I know what that's like. Yeah, it's like an itching in the back of your brain, and it's like, hey, I'm sitting over here. You can slam me if you want to. I know you don't want to, but I'm just going to sit here and look at you for an hour. And that's what we think about, and it starts to go away. And what we realize is that things don't sting as much anymore. Like if someone comes up to me now and they're like, are you drinking again? It doesn't sting as much because I know what I'm doing. But if someone comes, if I get tempted to drink, it doesn't sting anymore. It doesn't stay with me anymore. And what this is about is recreating the pathways your thoughts go down. Because what you've done is for years, you've said, crisis, bad thing, uncomfortable, go drink. And so you've trained your brain, bad thing, go drink. Bad thing, go drink. Bad thing, go drink. You're sober for a year, bad thing, go drink. What? Fuck, why did that come in there? It came in there because it's what you did. You made it that way. And if you focus and you say, you know what? I'm not going to take that right turn over to bad thing, go drink. I'm just going to keep going straight. It might come up. There's going to be a sign that says, bad thing, go drink. But I don't got to turn. That's not my exit. My exit's over there where it's like, I'm going to stay sober. And so we look at it, and we can literally control the way that we think about this stuff by watching it. Because up until now, what we've been is we've been reactionary. And we live reactionary. And we're like, oh, this happened, no shit. What am I going to do now? Right? And we're like that kid who's like getting things thrown at him, and you're like, shit, get away, knock it off. Right? And now we could go through and be like, people are going to throw stuff at me. I think I'll just move over here. They can't reach me over here. But if you're drinking, you're sitting there and you're taking everything as it comes to you, and you're not in charge of what you do. And you're just saying, I'm just going to react to everything that comes my way. That's what I'm going to do. Right? You're like a guy going down the highway, driving your car with the rearview mirror. And you can't drive a car with the rearview mirror because you're looking at what's behind you instead of what's in front of you. And if you sit there and you look at what's in front of you and you're like, today, I cannot drink. Today, something bad might happen. But I'll be okay. I'll be all right.
Yes, indeed. Well said. Hey, David says, guys, do you think that people grow out of drinking alcohol mid-40s, especially heavy negative drinkers? Does nature kick in to save us? Uh, no. That would be, I guess, in my 20s, there was another substance that I did way too much of, and I stopped. I just one day decided I'm not doing this anymore. Alcohol? No. If I was to continue drinking, I would keep drinking. Nature never would have kicked in. Um, I think maybe for a person that is not an alcoholic, I still don't think nature would kick in, but I think they can make the decision to stop drinking and then stop drinking. But as far as an alcoholic goes, my brain has been changed. So no, if I start drinking again, I can't stop. It's the obsession of the mind and the compulsion of the body. It's the two combined. There's just no way of stopping it. No amount of willpower, nothing. I have to develop a way of life that's going to keep me away from that first drink, and that's what I try to do every day.
And I can tell you one thing that you could pretty much predict. If you keep drinking alcoholically, you'll become an alcoholic. Like, that's a guarantee. Like that's how the body works, right? It's like you drink enough, you're going to get hooked. And whatever scientific issues are there about being hooked, we don't really know a lot about that. But what I do know is you get accustomed to certain things. Like someone just said, thank God I'm 11 months sober. I couldn't handle this virus lockdown with an alcohol-induced anxiety on top of it. Exactly. And what's going to happen is all these people, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, they're going to be locked up in their house, and then they're going to come out and go to normal stuff, right? 2 months, a month later, whatever it is. And when these normal people go out, even if they haven't been drinking their ass off the whole time, even if they didn't even drink, they go out, and it's going to be a little anxious. It's like that first day of school. You got summer, go to a new school, you're a little anxious. Interesting. Okay, I'm getting into these things. And what happened was you got used to being isolated. Your body got used to it. Now with alcohol, it's the same way. Your body gets used to a certain amount of alcohol. And it says, oh, if I don't get this amount of alcohol, my anxiety is going to be off the chart. And so your anxiety spikes. And people don't accredit it. Like, alcohol is the biggest get off the hook thing in the world. Right? Like, alcohol gets off the hook for everything. Oh, that's not my anxiety. It's because I was, this or I was that. And you never blame alcohol for what it needs to be blamed for, but we're here to tell you, put the blame where it goes. Put it where it goes. You got high anxiety and you've been drinking, chances are it's because of drinking. If you got this, it's because it's drinking. You got legal problems, right? I remember hearing years ago in a recovery meeting, I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs. And, you got legal problems because of drinking? Yeah, that's because of drinking. Drinking makes you do shit you wouldn't normally do. That's why it's not that great, it's not a good thing to look at. But we got to focus on it, right? And like Kurt says, no alcoholic is a normal drinker. No, we're not. We're not normal. We're not normal drinkers. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right. Any other comments in there?
I think we're getting close to winding it down.
All right.
I did forget to say, congratulations. There's a lot of people posting how much sobriety they have, and we got, from no sobriety up to, I think I saw 1,171 days, and there's probably a couple people on here with even more. That's awesome. Congratulations. And if you're still trying to get sober, that's okay. Keep trying. And yeah, you can get there. Any of us can get there. If I can get sober, I think anyone can. I was a heavy drinker, and there was no way out for me, but I did find that way out.
Cool. All right. David says there's scientific evidence that a portion of the population will grow out of drinking alcohol as they age. Obviously, severe alcoholics are in a different category. What you got to realize, David, is that there's a lot of science and studies that, you can make the results prove whatever you want. And people do. Like the whole thing about having some alcohol is good for your health. I think they found out, don't quote me on this, but I think they found out that was sponsored by the alcohol industry. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But we need to be careful with what we're doing. And again, Everybody finds something to do. I'm an alcoholic. I need to focus on getting sober, right? Whatever. I don't care what the study says. I know my study says if I drink again, I'm probably going to end up dead, because that's where I was last time. So we got to really focus on that and say, this is what I'm going to do. And my science shows me that when I drink, I get drunk. And when I have one, I have a million. That's what my science shows me. And those aren't good odds. I don't like that. That's not worth having one drink to chill, right? So we got to look at that and we got to focus. For those of you who do want to join the extended calls that we are making, check out talksober.com. Also, check out the Facebook group. You can go to talksober.com. There's a big box to support the channel. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. Talksober.com, so I can show you.
And you guys talk to me on that Facebook group. I'll be checking in every day right now.
Yes.
So hopefully I'll be able to get you, well, at least I'll be able to talk to you there. But yeah, get on there.
Absolutely. And this is what the Talk Sober page looks like. Sorry for covering your face there, Terry. You can go to talksober.com. This is going to show you what you're getting. This will support the channel if you can afford it. It's less than the price of a beer a day, a cheap beer at that. Shows you what we're up to, what you guys are getting, everything like that. And you can help support us, and you'll get the link instantly to the private calls we're going to have to help you guys get sober. If you truly cannot afford this, we understand, and we want to help you out as well. Just go here, go to our Facebook group, and ask us on there if you can join the calls, and we'll help you out with that. If you do have the means, help us out, help other people out, and help us spread the message, because that's really what we want to do here. We've reached over 1 million people, or over 1 million different views on YouTube here, which is a lot of alcoholics. It's a lot of people that are reaching out for help, and the comments pour in daily about people that are getting sober with the stuff that we're providing, which is cool. Again, we're not doctors or trained physicians or addiction counseling people. We're just two guys that got sober, and we want to share our experience with you and some of the things that we learned. Because for me, when I got sober, I made it a goal to understand what went on. I made it a goal to learn exactly what I needed to learn to stay sober. And so that's what we're sharing with you in there. So check out the Facebook group, support the channel if you can. Make sure you subscribe, give us a like. The more likes we get on these videos, the more these will be shared out to other alcoholics. And you know, some people might not be able to find this, so let's help them by giving it a thumbs up in the YouTube algorithm or something like that. Right, so really, really cool. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. Definitely join the Facebook group so you know what's going on, and you can reach out to us there. So thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Until then, Marcus and Terry, talksober.com. Thanks, guys.